Okay. All right. So I have a lot on my mind today. I have a lot of
Oh, that's
questions,
great.
lots of questions, but
Okay.
let's begin with what's going on with you.
Hi,
Okay.
Dee.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
we can hear you.
Okay, can you see me?
We can't see you yet.
No.
Oh, well, that's probably a good thing.
There we go.
Can you see me?
We can see your picture now.
Oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
that's even better. I'm on my computer, and and instead of I couldn't get on my iPad like I normally could, so I'm not sure how to turn on my camera. Let me figure it out.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll be listening to you.
Okay. Okay. Um. Yes. So I was just saying I have a lot of questions for us, but before we dive into that, I thought we should all share what's going on with us. So we'll start with you, Beata.
Mhm. I think nothing special. So I just started journaling about my desire 2019.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And from this, I would like to make a plan
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
what I would like to do next year.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So
uh,
when will you be ready to share it with us?
yes, I will. Plus, I painted a little bit, and I'm trying to be ready for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to do some shopping. I already started, but
Mm-hmm.
still.
Yes.
And I try to post every day
Mm-hmm.
on Instagram and on my Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
And I also did a, so at least I'm trying to do a Santa say for my list, and try to generate some more subscriber with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I will see. It will be a very short one.
Okay. Okay. Well, you're busy.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to do now.
Hmm. Okay. Well, thank you. Dee,
Yes.
before I introduce all my frustrations, well, they're not frustrations, they're questions for all of us, but I just thought we should share what's going on with us individually before I. Oh, that's
Hi,
Michelle.
Michelle.
Mhm. Good morning,
Good
Michelle.
Good
morning.
morning.
Sorry
Hey.
I'm tardy. Had to take my dog into daycare.
Oh.
Oh.
Puppy care. She needs,
Mhm. Okay, well,
yeah,
we're happy you're here.
I am too.
Um, I haven't introduced our topic yet. I just thought we should share what's going on with us individually before I, because today I have a lot of questions for all of us.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's Dee's turn.
Okay, well, let's see what's going on. Well, I'm still kind of into my holiday sale.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I guess I have a good source. My husband just bought about 70 of my calendars to give as gifts to
Oh.
all of the some of the employees. So I said, thank you very much. That really helped. And I did sell a $2,000 painting.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
great.
then I sold some other calendars on the outside of that. So, I guess my art pimp helped me out in my holiday sales.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of just going to, I am going to put out uh, this weekend. I'm going to put out on on Instagram and Facebook some other couple of specials, and then I haven't sent out any emails since what was it, Cyber Monday, I guess it was. So I felt like I inundated them over that weekend, with about, what was it, like 7 or 8 days of emails. So I decided that I'd not send one for a while, and but I'm real excited and kind of starting my plans to increase my email list by doing some Instagram and Facebook stuff, trying to, invite new, more ideal clients on, and so that's exciting. And then I've had, so I'm really looking forward to doing that and trying to, increase mine. I've had some recently website sign up for the newsletter and stuff, so that's really nice. I see a little bit of increase in there. I wish I could take a class on how to read all of your analytics and Google Analytics and all of that, because I've looked at it, but I'm sure that I'm not totally looking at it the way it should be. And Michelle, I sure do like your earrings.
Pardon me?
I like your earrings.
Oh, thank you. One of my colleagues made them.
They're little Christmas trees, right?
Zoya, they're little Christmas trees out of beads.
Yeah, they're so cute. Anyway, so that's where I'm at, and kind of moving on, and I'm going to kind of shut down probably the like the weekend before Christmas, and just concentrate on my German grandkids coming and family coming. And
Nice.
I'm just going to kind of get off of the social media stuff, and probably not kind of spend 2 weeks just kind of enjoying family and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. That's
Figure out how to get my children going. So, but like I said, that's probably a good thing right now.
Okay, thank you. Marianne, it's your turn.
Hey. Okay. It's been an interesting week for things showing back up, and they're bits and pieces, not necessarily from my painting life, but from other things I've had an interest in. And I guess it's coming from a place of wanting to feel excited. This week, I had an app renew itself that I'd completely forgotten about signing up for. I signed up for, and it's one of those things you do in a moment where you're trying to be supportive and healthy. And here's this meditation app that I signed up for in the beginning of December last year, and it just renewed. And of course, I'm seeking, what on earth is that fee showing up on, PayPal? And it's that app. It reminded me this is something I'd committed to do, which I completely forgot about. So I opened it up again, and I realized this is a really valuable thing, and that I could stream it on my TV in my studio space. The music, the words, the visuals that they offer. That's why this one costs money, because it actually was a good app.
Okay.
So again, we pay for it, and hopefully this time it'll be something that I can have in the background while I'm working. Another thing that showed up from this time last year, I have a gallery show in the fall through the gallery that represents me. I'm usually there on site when they do that. It's an evening, a festival evening. And something else that took place last year during that time was a lantern parade. And it was people who had gotten together and handmade lanterns. And there'd been a few classes available to learn how to do it, and a few of my friends got together and did it. And I was envious because I hadn't had the time to get involved. Well, that came back around this year, except at a different time. They're now going to have the lantern parade on the solstice, evening of the solstice. And I realized I had bought all kinds of stuff, and I'd found unusual items, sticks and things to make lanterns out of, and I'd put it aside and done nothing with it. And I thought, you have a week and a half, 2 weeks now, if you want to make a lantern again. And one of the things that had really excited me about it last year was seeing what my friends had made. what a lantern looks like when it's not lit is not the same as what it looks like when it is lit. And
Absolutely.
there are all these interesting things that they'd included in the surface that you don't see it till they light it up.
Oh.
And I thought, I really want to stop what I'm doing and make a lantern. Do this because there's something about this process that will be meditation like or good for me in some way. And I thought maybe what I need to do is just step back from painting for a little bit and let myself do one of these crafts. I used to do all kinds of things, including mask making, and I loved it. But I stopped because I had to focus on making mortgage payments. And this has been, 17 years ago. All my fun activities, all my craft like activities that I used to just thoroughly love and get lost in. And I thought maybe the problem is that I'm trying to put all that energy into painting and it's not flying, at least not right now. So I've decided to let myself take a break and at least make a lantern or maybe two or three and see what happens, what inspiration I get from putting those layers together that light has to pass through. Because that's one thing our paintings don't do. Light does, unless we create that illusion, that's not happening through these surfaces. And I thought maybe this would be fun to play with this. So
That's not happening through these surfaces. Maybe this would be.
so that's what I'm going to do for the next week or so.
That definitely sounds like fun and inspiring.
It'll be different.
Yeah. Well, show us when you create it. We would love to see.
I will, and I've thought of some other things I might put up just to show you what I've been playing with this week. I played a little bit with a small pen and ink. I went to those smalls that we were talking about doing because I'd prepared the surfaces, and I thought maybe I just need to go back to things I can relax into and see if I don't start the fire again, at least in some form.
Yeah.
So there we are.
Well, thank you. We'll be looking forward to seeing what you create.
Me too.
Okay. All right, Michelle, it's your turn.
Yeah, I'm inspired by Marianne's. In a way, it sounds like a metaphor that, you, until it's lit, like lit within, you do not see the complexity and all of the, the attention to detail. And in a way, it's sort of like the way we are with our paintings while we're doing them. Unless we're lit, we are not, fully out there, fully authentic, fully... I don't know. It was beautiful the way you put it, and
Absolutely.
And I'm not doing it very well in recreating it. So, but thank you.
Thanks for the reflection.
Oh, you're welcome. What I've been up to has been that course, designing the course in a much more disciplined way, because I had all these fragments of what I wanted to put into it, and it was just, I was getting all over myself, adding too much when what they wanted was something much simpler. And so right now we're at the phase where we're designing the modules. And what we started with, I just started my homework yesterday for this week, and like this, the modules, and you've got here the questions you're asking: why, what, how, if. And then all the modules, like these are just, they're on sticky, so I can move them around. But it's been fun because I've been asking my colleagues here, and I'll ask you the same. When you encounter an artistic block, what does it look like? So that would be a question that I would love to have you, if you can, just answer off the top of your head, because I've got a number listed, but I was on an earlier call at 8 this morning with my accountability partners. We had to move it from yesterday to today. And I asked them, and I got a completely different answer than ones that I had encountered. So so
Would you do you
Okay.
want us to answer the questions right now?
Well, if you'd like, yeah, please.
Michelle, can I ask a question first? Again, what the sticky notes? Where is that a class you're taking, or what? I didn't catch that.
I'm taking an online course, Create Six Figure Online Courses, and by Janine Blackwell.
Okay.
Oh,
And this is her methodology. She has a 7-module course to get you to this point. I'm now on module 3. And it's, because I had the course, I've taught this course in many different formats. I've taught it as a 9-week course, as a 6-week course, as a week workshop, as a 2-weekend workshop. I've done that so many times before. But this was a way, because it's a course that doesn't have a continuum. I mean, once you do it, you don't need to ever do it again, nor would you want to necessarily. But it's all about staying and being in action. It's the course I'm designing. And so how to deal with creative roadblocks, like when you get stuck, we all know how it is to have this goal when you prepared for an exhibit and you come back and you're spent, or when you get to a point in a painting where you really like it, but you don't know it's not done and you don't know what the next step is.
Yes.
Or when you're bored of your work, or
Yes.
if you're just physically tired and worn down, or when you have no time, no money, or nothing you are producing seems authentic, like that. That's what so I was interested in hearing what, for each one of you, what your particular issue might be, or issues, because I can identify myself in virtually all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's answer that quickly, and then we'll start with you, Beata. What would your answer be?
So in that case, I procrastinate. I mean that I would have too many housework, chores, and even if I try to do some art, I definitely will miss a certain thing, a color, for example, and I can't step further without getting it. And obviously, I won't Google it where to find it. Just go to a shop and I won't be able to get it. So that would be definitely something that I can't buy it immediately. And it somehow would be an excuse not to do anything. So it works on that way.
Thank you.
All right.
Mine would be I come to a point of inertia, which I'm real familiar with lately. Things I used to do, I used to go for a walk, and not something where I was listening to music. Now sometimes music will release something, but I've used that. Other times it depends on what kind of work you're doing. Sometimes I will listen to books on tape just to get my monkey mind busy while I'm doing abstract paintings. I don't have to mentally think about what I'm doing. I'm trying to just emote, put it forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listening to a story or a book or podcast, something in the background, keep half my brain busy while the other half is creating. Those are two things that I'll use to try to coax activity.
Yeah. Thank you.
What about you, Dee?
Well, procrastination is more for me is for perfection and getting, I want to get all my little ducks in a row before I start. And consequently, it never happens. But I think probably also what I am finding is that, and that's why I was asking you about the sticky notes. I'm trying to find a way to really organize my days, a good practical way. And I have that focus calendar from Michael Hyatt that I'm starting as of January 1st, and I'm starting to put that on. Oh yeah. Now, is that
This is a weekly planner actually, and I just found it in Staples, and I turned it into something else. You know, but I highly recommend it. It's done by Post-it, and it has a whole series of weeks. So
and
FY,
you got it at Staples?
I got it at Staples. Yes.
Yeah, I need something where I can really, you know, I mean, I have little pads of paper. I have probably a dozen of these with notes that I'm working on, and then I can never find anything, and so I really want to get something more concise. You know, Allison had something that she wanted. Remember, if she wanted from her son for a birthday, and that was what I was interested in that. But so I just feel I'm a person that if I'm disorganized or I don't know where my direction that I'm going in the day, I get nothing done. If I have direction and, you know, things to do and a set, you know, deal, and I want to, then I get a lot done. And what I want to do is kind of start setting increments of time and discipline myself that, okay, I'm going to do my email series. I'm going to work on that. And that's going to be 1 hour from 10 to 11, you know, or something like that, and stick to that. And so that's what I think that's my hardest thing to do is, you know, I'm a very organized person. And so when I'm not organized, it's very frustrating. And that's my block.
Thank you. Shirley-Ann, how about you?
With me, it's this really crazy, it's a paradox. So when I focus on like realistic things like money and get your work done, and you know, I don't do anything. I totally I stay in my head, and I don't get anything done. I lose all inspiration. I just worry, and then nothing happens. But if I can connect with the things that make me happy, and it could be as simple as watching an haute couture show on YouTube, or listening to a song that inspired me, or it's usually connected with fashion in Paris. Anything with fashion in Paris will. And then I find myself, it's an explosion of creativity. But sometimes it takes me a long time to remember that that's where my joy is, because I'm trying so hard to be this grown up to get things done. But that's never the thing that gets me going. Never. So that's my that's how it works here.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I forget that there are songs. There are particular songs, and I forget all about them, that I've known for 40 years, back when I was in high school, that if I would just put that music on and get up and move around, the energy and the day would shift.
Yeah.
Oh, I am so with you.
Me too. And I heard something on the other day that how music is so important in our lives. I can't remember if we were relating it, but that it triggered a lot, and people that sang out loud to themselves, which I find myself humming to myself all the time, that those people tend to I don't know, they're better.
Well, I sing in the shower, but my dog starts howling. I've got to get her on tape because I've been singing Christmas carols, and she just doesn't like that high register, you know.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So, yeah. So this leads me to all the questions I have for us, and I love what you shared, Marianne, because it's actually you illustrated what I was one of the things that I was going to talk about. One of my photography mentor, she keeps on talking about how she has this way of saying when you're desperate or when you're broke or when you're desperate to make the sale, she says you're stinky. Smell.
I love that.
She says people can smell it
Oh yeah.
miles away,
Yeah.
And what she advises is to turn that desperation into service, into love, right? And so I love the analogy of the light because
Yeah.
if we're lanterns, if we're lanterns and our light isn't on, no one will see us, especially in the dark. However, if we can turn that light on inside of us,
Yes. Yeah.
everyone. So I just you just did a very artistic illustration. But the questions so these are the questions I wanted to ask. The first one is, yes, I've had a business, but it wasn't as an artist. So I have questions for you as artists. Before you decided to approach the online space, did you find that you found success by creating relationships, one-on-one relationships? Is that how you found success in getting your art out into the world, or did you have these systems that worked?
Oh, it was all about relationships
Mm-hmm.
and how long it took you to build them. And for me, they were built over time. Only a rare few were instant.
Okay.
Most took time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about the rest of you?
For me, I don't know that initially it was about relationships. Initially, it was about showing my work, entering juried shows, having people purchase them, teaching. So I guess in teaching, it fostered relationships. Some of my students bought paintings.
Okay.
And then when I juried into the factory, I would say that which is responsible for 90% of my sales.
Okay.
It wasn't initially relationships. Relationships were established over time and working with people. But now I just saw the gentleman in the corridor who had bought 2 small pieces from me last week this morning before I opened my door. And so now, yes, we're in relationship. But before that, before he came into my studio, I didn't know him. So, but I do think relationships, especially if you don't have a vehicle like this, is probably primarily important. Yeah, and certainly for us in our future and where we want to grow our business, I think it's primarily important. But
Absolutely. Thank you. What about you, Beata?
About me, so I'm in a special situation because all of my art relationships are back in Malaysia. I don't really have in Hungary.
Okay.
Even my previous relationships, which were connected to the financial markets, are a little bit broken because that's a very strange country. All of my friends and family members are leaving this country, so who are staying here, they are either old or has some kind of a serious illness. These ones keep them here. So that's why I have very special relationships left. So that's the reason I'm trying to develop an online business.
Yeah. Well, so it's a paradox because what I'm finding is, especially for those of us who are new online, we may not be new in our practice, but
right.
we're fairly new online. I have a feeling, and Alexis, she did say this without saying it, But I have a feeling the methods that could work for people who already have lists, etc., etc., may not work for us initially. I feel like we have to invest more in building relationships one by one by one by one, especially in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we have this strong foundation, then it can fly, you know, because um, I, I post every day. I post every, like, not on Facebook, but on Instagram. And I realized the repeat responders are people who I've actually given a gift to, or, there's some
Yeah.
extra relation.
Connection.
Exactly. And I'm wondering, should that be the focus, especially in the beginning? And still using the internet as this vehicle, but still to focus on building one relationship at a time, knowing that one day it'll explode, instead of spending all this energy um, putting things out into the ethers, which, you know, in my case, there's nothing. So that's one thought, one question I had. And the second question I had also came from another teacher, another art teacher, art business person. She reminded me or us of the fact that with art, people are buying an emotion.
Yes.
They're not buying a physical product. They're not buying socks or a t-shirt.
Yes.
It's people are buying an emotion. So that's another question I had for us. If we were to drill down our, and I know these things are connected to our why and all these things, but if I were to ask you right now, what emotion is your art providing the viewer, would you have an answer?
I'm often surprised because by the time I've finished something and it's hung on the wall, my connection to it is waning if it's not gone. And when someone sees it and they trip that up, they whip it up again. I mean, I don't really feel ever the way I did while I was working on something
Mm-hmm.
again. But people will see it and you'll see them the emotional start to rise in them, and it's fascinating for me. And then they'll want to know what I was thinking about or feeling while I was doing it, what's it referred to, and I've learned my lesson on that one, to keep my mouth shut,
Yes.
to not give
Mm-hmm.
them whatever was going on in
Yeah.
my head, because it then curbs whatever they're feeling. Suddenly they feel like it's wrong, or
Yeah.
it's not what was meant, and so I've shut that off dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
I just try to tell them that I'm experiencing something in the moment, and that's what I'm trying to get across.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be different for everyone who sees it. And that's the gift for me
Perfect.
when they relate to me,
Mm-hmm.
what it's doing for them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a magic moment when someone connects to
Absolutely.
something and you didn't see it coming. You can't predict it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So
um,
here's the key that I'm trying to, figure out how to write down and
mm-hmm.
express in a website. It's
Mm-hmm.
that I'm trying to be a good conduit for what's
Mm-hmm.
happening in the moment for
Mm-hmm.
me,
Mm-hmm.
because I figure I'm being used.
Mm-hmm.
I take this as a spiritual practice, basically, though I'm not telling everybody that necessarily right now
Mm-hmm.
that I'm doing it, because they all take spirituality and religion and all that. They tie it together, and it's a messy thing for a lot of people. And I now have surrounded by people who are telling me they're not religiously involved anymore at all.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't want to hear any of that.
Yeah.
Um, I just think that's my task, to be a good conduit for. I'm here for a reason. I was put here for a reason. I figured
Absolutely.
that was the reason, to be a good conduit.
Yeah.
Channel for whatever is needing to be expressed, and those who are meant to find it are going
Mm-hmm.
to be drawn.
You've answered the question I was going to ask next, because in the moment I can see how, in the moment it's on a wall in a gallery. The people who come to the gallery came to look at art. It's this perfect experience which has been created. So I can see how that's perfect. But I was going to ask, how do you bring that online? How do you bring that experience, that magical experience online? And
I'm not for me personally, I don't have the answer for that yet
Mhm,
because I haven't really experienced it. I've had a few people, they give you likes, but
mhm,
they're not, again, I haven't given an easy way to purchase.
mhm,
So I haven't really taken the next step. Again, I think people will be drawn in some fashion.
mhm.
Yet we're all working on how to make that happen.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
I'm
what this
I'm
is
not I'm
about.
not attracted to email. I this whole email thing
Me
just
too.
turns me off because I hate email. You know,
Mhm,
so I think my easiest first step is going to provide people an easy way to buy something, the cleanest, simplest way to go in and grab something they want at a price that probably something inexpensive, something medium price, something really expensive, just
mhm,
so they know my range is great. Not,
mhm,
I don't want to be seen as someone who's inexpensive.
mhm,
I want to have it all out there. But that magic moment you're talking about, I think maybe we're all sitting here at that moment trying to
mhm.
make that happen.
Yeah, yeah. Do any of you have any ideas? I love that you call it the magic, because that's what it's about. How do you replicate and transfer and communicate this magic that we create when we create our art?
Well, I relate so much to what Marianne had said because that's exactly where I am. I stopped telling people what it was about and I stopped having titles of pieces that were so transparent. I try to now sort of do some woo woo, disguise the title a little bit. Because what's important for anybody to engage with any piece of art, but especially with abstract, there has to be a connection to that person's past, a memory, a fleeting fancy that they want to just capture. And so I view my task as an artist to hold a mirror up to people and reflect who they are and why it is that they are engaged, and to bring back their life experiences or and I tried last week, and it was funny because there were a couple that were in my studio, and I talked to them at length about that, how I'm try not to, what I thought, because I talked to them about how in the past, because there are people that come into the studio and so, oh, I see that sailboat or I see that horse. And there's one artist here who continually, when people come into my studio and she passes and sees them, she goes, this woman doesn't understand how much she likes horses. And she pointed to each of my paintings where there's a horse behind or a horse head or a horse tail. And it was so freaking annoying. But she goes, oh, you aren't bothered by this, are you? And I go, like, and I said, it's sort of like once you know, I saw last week a Rottweiler in a piece that I had done because somebody told me there's a dog in it. And now I just see it and I'm kind of going, or the time I really liked a watercolor I had painted, and it was done en plein air when I did more representational work. And it was on this rocky cliff, this rocky hillside. And all of a sudden I looked at it and goes, that looks like a freaking ski boot. And so I just hate it because I think when things are voiced aloud,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it stops you from looking
Yes.
deeper. And so I
Yes.
really, really hesitate anymore to even share those things. And I just, I'm going to have a talk with that one artist about the horse thing. And I go, did you ever think it might be you that has the horse thing?
You're right. So, having said this, I know when it comes to online, you're going to be focusing more on teaching, but and I think with teaching it's more straightforward, you know. But with your art, you've said it. It's the mirror. You've answered the question.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know how online you make that more apparent. You know, I mean, how you communicate that. I don't. But that's. I feel like right now I'm trying to keep myself on track with this course, because otherwise I'm overwhelmed, because I have to do everything. I have to do the website. I have to do Instagram, which I have to keep my Facebook art page up to date. I've got to try to look at Pinterest. I'm just like, stop. There are only so many hours in the day, and I just don't know where it ends. And it doesn't end. That's the point. It doesn't end.
Yeah.
It's like, how much do you want to engage? And I sincerely right now want to go back to that issue of quality. Because more than anything else, that's what I want this next year to be about, is to focus on my artistic quality. Is this the absolute best work that I can be producing? And if I no longer resonate with a number of pieces, which unfortunately, when you've had things in your studio for a while, you try to, you move their location, you take them down for a while, you turn their face to the wall and just say, okay, let me forget about that piece for a while. But if I bring it back out, maybe I'll look at it anew. But unfortunately, sometimes when things have been up so long, I'm tired of them.
Yeah.
And there's no joy there. So
I'll use those for other. Sometimes those become the base for a new painting.
Yeah,
I really
absolutely.
don't care for it.
Yeah.
I have done that, and then sometimes I know, because of the feedback I'm getting, that other people relate to them. It's just that I no longer do. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
What about you? How do you communicate? You've had a lot of in-person experiences. You travel all over to teach, so you get to have these in-person interactions. How would you translate that into words or online?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was trying to think. When I first started out, it was all about just showing my art and selling my art. I never thought about the relationships, but they came without me really thinking about it. And it wasn't until later that I realized, oh, look at all of these, artists and I felt, happy and proud that I was affecting their lives, and I was, helping them. And so it came without me really recognizing it or anything. And now as I teach, and, it's amazing that, I ask myself constantly, what is it that I'm doing that makes these people want to come? Last night I had dinner with 3 other ladies that we've met, and it was a small world instance, but this one, she just moved here to Reno, and she's an artist, and she signed up for my workshop at the museum. And so she told me that she did, and we were talking. And I think a lot of it is that I don't think it's really the art as much it is the person. And it's always been my goal that I knew, like you, Michelle, that you have a purpose, and that whatever, and you're here for a purpose and for a reason. And I've always felt that, my gift of art that was given to me is I'm to use it for that reason or that purpose. and so I just relate that, and I can relate it better talking one-on-one than I can do in writing it. And so I've found that some of the things that I've been creating in my different email series and stuff is more, I'm thinking, oh, this is real salesy. This is real, you know, and I don't want it to be that way. I want it to be more, you know, this is what I hope that my art work does for you. This is what I hope you get from it, whether you're taking a workshop or you're buying a piece of art or you're buying my calendar or whatever. And it's interesting, in all of the sales that I've had, like some of them are high school friends that I grew up, went to school together, you know. In fact, all of my, I've sold the biggest majority of my calendars to that group of people. And so there's that connection there. So I think it's just growing that connection, but I think it's also just trying to portray, instead of, and I can be a real business type person because I am in Roger and I's business, my husband and I's business. And so I can put things down in a real business fashion. But I think in my art, it's more, I just write it with my heart and put it in a more personal fashion. And usually I'll do that a lot of times. As I'm, you know, I talk to myself in the studio. I hope you guys all do too, because I want to make it, you know, but I talk to myself like I'm talking to someone else, you know, and I'm thinking, you know what? I should record that because that's exactly what I'm trying to say to everyone. And I need to put that in written form, and I'm saying it and I'm talking it to myself. Actually, I'm talking to whoever's out there listening, you know, in the iCloud, I guess. But but that's what I want to. That's what I want to portray. That's the message I want to give out. So I thought I need to start recording myself in the studio more, listening to what I'm saying, and then putting that in my communication out to everybody. And like Michelle said, those people will gravitate towards you automatically. If they're not in that realm, they'll go away. If they are, you'll have a relationship with them and not even realize it, probably most of the time. So I'm really kind of working on that too, and it's hard. I have to tell you a cute story. So my son has his girlfriend in Germany. He just moved here, lives up in Vancouver, Washington now. And he's gone through this whole, for months now, you know, this gravitation pull of what do I do with my girlfriend in Germany? I really love her, da, 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 da. And I said to him, you know, follow your heart, but don't give up your dream of living back in America. And so he did move back. And I said, because you might regret it. You know, you might, at some point, you might blame her for not living your dream. So live your dream, whatever you do. And he's an artist. He's a motion designer and very creative. And so anyway, she came to visit a couple of weeks ago and they got married.
Oh.
And I didn't know this until this weekend. And I mean, it's not a surprise. I'm not surprised at all, you know. But I said, why didn't you tell me when you were here for Thanksgiving? Because they were married then. And he said, Mom, I kept trying to tell you. I couldn't find the words to tell you. And that's why he wrote me and his sister an email that was really long. But it was because he could express his emotions better by writing. He writes a lot of poetry and stuff, you know. And I couldn't fault him for that, you know. So I got to thinking, you know, that I'm saying it. So if I just video myself, that's my emotions. That's how I portray myself. And then I can just transcribe that and put it in written form.
A technical question for you. If you're going to record yourself, how are you going to do it?
Well, I'm going to do it two ways. And I mean, one main way, because this for my online course, I've discovered that probably the best way that I can do it is when I'm painting, I just set up my video equipment and I just video it.
Okay.
And usually, and that's when I'm talking to whoever I'm teaching. And that's what I do when I paint. Sometimes, I'm not all the time, but sometimes, when I'm painting, I'll just start talking like I'm teaching to somebody. Like I have a audience out in front of me and I'm teaching to them. And so I'm just going to start setting up my recording equipment in the studio, just turn it on when I go in. And then of course you can always edit and, make it nice and everything. And I think that's what Kelly Folsom does too. I think she does that a lot. And then you'll find, I think I'll find that there's going to be little quips that are going to be great for just putting out there to others saying, this is what I'm all about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've thought about it too, but you know what? I go back to old school thinking, well, I think cassette tapes and how we used to record things. And now I'm looking around going, what do I have to record anything on? And I guess we are supposed to be able to record on our phones, aren't we? I mean, even if we're not videoing, just voice.
Yeah. Well, no, you video yourself like you're in a camera. I have a video camera, but also I bought a microphone that I hook up to the video camera that makes a better video than your iPhone does. So I mean, I use my iPad more than I do my iPhone. I use my iPad, and I bought a little stand that's like a small little tripod, and it has the spring-loaded things that you can set your iPad in. And I just set it there in kind of, where they can see what I'm painting. They can see me, and then I'll get a little bit more sophisticated for my online courses. Then I have my other video camera that I'm going to have showing my palette. That'll be videoing my palette. So they'll be able to see my colors and what I'm mixing and everything.
Okay.
So it'll be kind of my course will be three themes. Be my still life, what I'm painting, my easel where I'm actually painting, and my palette to show what I'm mixing. But other times when I'm not really doing that, I'm just going to turn on the video camera and just me talking. And then I think from there that I'll be able to grab things that I say, put it in written words, but also put it as little video clips out on Instagram and Facebook to attract those people that resonate with me.
Yeah.
Because they're seeing the real me. They're seeing who I am by doing that.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, thank you. So all of these questions are ultimately going to lead back to what we were discussing last week, which was what would be the most powerful opt-in, first impression that we put out into the world to begin attracting, bringing in our ideal clients. So this is why I was thinking about if we thought about it as building this relationship, then what does that look like? Because I found personally in my life online, I think I've been hoping that I could put pieces of myself out there, hoping that something will work. And then later I can put my full self out there, and it's not working. It's like life is saying, no, we're not going to let you go easy. You have to put all of you out there, not just this little piece. So
that sounds so familiar.
Me too. Yeah,
because it's easy for us to hide behind our art. I know I do. So I just feel that I think if we were in a different profession, we could get away with a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Right? But I think with art, it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
You know, it's all or nothing. So what is all? You know, what is the all that we give with the hopes of building these relationships so that we can all thrive? You know.
Yeah, it's that peeling back the layers and being vulnerable. I have had a lot of visual images come to me.
Mm-hmm.
Things are coming rather than in the format necessarily they want us to, do it in these classes. Once I slowed down and stepped back, stuff, as I said this week, starting to show back up that I had
Yeah.
sort of dismissed. And of course, the idea of becoming vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
and this, as I had said before, the road to self acceptance,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing that as I exposed more, it was okay. And the people that have had the most effect on me in the last, I guess, decade are the ones that have exposed what their trouble was in becoming who they were. When I have sat in on artist lectures and someone was honest about all the stuff they go through while they were painting, especially this 94-year-old artist that passed away this year, that was someone I came to truly appreciate. She talked about the stuff that went through her head, and I went, "Oh my God, I'm okay. I'm okay." Because you are going through the same thing that I have been experiencing, and since my conventional environment didn't support this stuff, I didn't realize that was normal. So every time I've sat in on somebody's lecture and I've learned some piece of what they went through to be themselves fully, it was a breath of fresh air. And I thought, well, that's what I really am being asked to do here. I am being asked to share the stuff, and it's not just repeating someone else's story, it's my own version of it, and someone will be drawn to it.
Exactly.
I just don't know who they are, but they will be drawn because I shared my gut wrenching feelings, my worries, my concerns, and then my epiphanies
Mm-hmm.
and where they came from.
Yeah.
Because I think you're relating to people and saying, I've gone through this. I mean, I've been an artist for, gosh, I don't even want to say because you know how old I am, but I mean, 50 plus years. I mean, since I was a little bitty girl, and the frustrations and I mean, I've gone through highs and lows where I haven't painted, because there was such a block there that it kept me from painting. Sometimes a year. I mean, and when we show that vulnerability, when we show those weaknesses, then we relate to others because nobody's superwoman or superman that don't have those. We all have those, and and I know sometimes when I take years and years ago when I used to take a lot of workshops, I'd always I'd take a workshop. It was usually a guy because guys don't show their feelings like women do, but I'm great, I'm this, I'm that, and he never talked about, I had a struggle with, this item. I had a struggle in my life about this. They wouldn't relate to that. And I couldn't relate to that person because I said, they've got to have had struggles like me, and so it is opening yourself up and showing your weaknesses, which sometimes is very hard to do. I think women have an easier way of doing that than men do, but it's showing your weaknesses. But and a lot of times, I feel like, I mean, I love it when I'm teaching a workshop one-on-one or, with a group, and I lay in and I start painting and it's just going the wrong direction. I'll tell you a story. David LaFell, one year, when I was painting with him one time, long time ago, he was doing this portrait, and he just, I mean, to me and everybody else, it was fabulous. We all would have bought it, okay? And he finished it up after painting for about 2 hours, and he says, I hate to tell you guys this, but maybe you'll relate to it. And he wiped it off. Now, I can't imagine David Leffel wiping anything off that isn't, that is, I mean, but it showed his vulnerability. It showed his weakness. But it also showed me that if you don't paint what you love, you won't love what you paint. And that's what I say to my students. And so you have to be willing to wipe it off. And I use that example a lot in little areas of painting, like a background. In the old Dutch master style, the background sometimes is the hardest because it is a nothing. It's to be nothing. It's to be so neutral, because everything else is supposed to be the main characters in the painting. And I used to be, when I would paint it, whatever, I finally got it, that I wouldn't change it if the world ended, because I wouldn't change it, But now, now I've got that confidence that I'll change it, a dozen times before that painting's over with, So showing that vulnerability, and sometimes it's really hard to open up and do that, but that means so much to other people.
Yeah. Maybe that is our form of service. You were talking about how
I think
we're supposed. I know I'm supposed to be doing service work, and sometimes I still have a guilty feeling rise up that I'm not doing enough service or important enough service.
Yeah, but you can't let that be remember that there's things great and there's things small, and sometimes the small are the greatest. And so I've been that way too. I always thought, oh, my art, I've got to go out there and and I've got to, if I'm going to use it, if it's God's going to use it for a purpose, then I've got to really get out there and in a big, big way. And I found out it was the small ways that it was used the most.
Yeah. Yeah, I had one person who's very successful business-wise, and I always admired her, and she was one of the stars that walked into my life and lit things up for me, put me out in a big way. She told me, she said, Marianne, it's okay to be known. It's okay for many people to appreciate you, because it will give you money in your pocket so that you can do the thing you're here to do. She said, if you're always trying to recede into the background, she said, you may not be able to fill your pocket with the fuel necessary to carry you where you want to go. You have to be willing to be seen. Because I was the quiet one and she was the big, she's the star, so.
Yeah, but sometimes those people in the background have more impact than the stars do.
Yeah.
I mean, I really believe that.
Well,
and the other thing that's not frustrating, but I always I have to keep in mind, we may never know if a person is affected by it. They may be so profoundly affected that they go home and it just changes their whole world, and we'll never know about it.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. So this is leading me to the final perfect question, which I think we should all reflect on as we move forward. And we, coming out, I think we've all been authentic up until this point, but just being vulnerable. So, what do you feel your purpose is as a human being, as an artist, as a woman? What's your gift? What do you know? Like, what do you know your gift is? And I'll start with you, Beata.
With me? That's probably too difficult question.
I told you today I was full of questions.
Yeah. I don't know why my purpose is. I only know my purpose as a mother, but no other ones really.
So, okay, what's your purpose as a mother?
Yeah, I want to pull my son out of his OCD and the trauma which caused him this one. So I need to solve this issue somehow. That's all.
But I do see that common thread in all of your arts, though. I do.
Yeah. And probably my art reflects the emotional part of it. Yeah.
Mm.
And I think helps me to keep going when it's really difficult.
Okay. Well, so you do know what your purpose is. In a sense. Okay. Thank you. What about you, Dee?
Well, that's I've looked for many, many years on what my purpose was, and a great book that I read that really helped me was Rick Warren. It's called The Purpose Driven Life.
Mhm.
And so I basically take that my purpose is to be a shining light for God and to portray that in everything that I do, whether it's my art, my daily life, how I talk to other people, treat people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But of course, art is my heart. So I really, use that avenue probably more than anything else. But it's amazing. One time I was teaching a workshop in Parkersburg, West Virginia, and this gal came first time to my workshop. So it's the first time I'd ever met her. And I got there the day before, and she did also. And so we met up and had dinner together. And she broke down in the middle of the dinner, and she said, I almost didn't come because my sister has cancer, was just diagnosed with cancer. And in fact, I'm leaving right after this class to go there. And I really felt that I should go there and not come to this class, but I felt like I needed something like this to kind of get me through what I was going to have to go through. And so I related to her, and not that it wasn't me at all, but I mean, I was able to really walk her through a lot of different things that week. And she says, now I know why I was led to come to this class. And it wasn't for the art at all. It was for the relationship that she and I developed together, and how I was, how God gave me the gift of being able to kind of help her through the thought processes and just different little things that we got to talk about through the week, So I think so that's my purpose. And I know that it's here. I know that's why I'm here. Sometimes I am not as, what I want to say, thoughtful about it as I should be. And I regret that. When my gut tells me to do something, sometimes I listen, and when I do, I'm always glad that I did. But when I don't, I always regret that I didn't. So and sometimes it can be just really crazy things. I mean, I had just like walking up to this lady the other day. I happened to see her at Walmart, and she looked just like somebody that I have heard speak. I don't know personally, but it's Ann Lotz Graham. It's Billy Graham's daughter, Ann Lotz Graham, and I really admire her. And she looked just like her, but I thought, no, I know that that can't be her in Reno, Nevada. And then I went to a women's group 3 days later, and there she was, and it was like, you know what? I'm going to go up to her because now I have a second chance, and I know I should. And do you know, it started a conversation with her that she says, oh my gosh, I am so glad that I met you, and I thought, if I had never, responded to that gut feeling that I had, and it was a crazy one. I mean, why in the world would I walk up to her and say, you look like Ann Lotz Graham, Billy Graham's daughter? Why would I ever do that? But it gave her something that she needed at that time. And so so sometimes I'm the crazy woman, walking. I feel like that anyway. So anyway, that's definitely my purpose, and I searched for years asking, what can I do with my art that'll reach others? What can I do with each other? And when I finally just relinquished and said, you know what, it'll come to me, and it did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Marianne, you're off camera.
I am still here, but I touched the phone in the wrong way, and away went the visuals, and I can't get it back. So,
As long as you're still here, that's fine.
I'm here. Mine is kind of similar to what Dee just said. Unless something else comes to me, I really think I am here for the purpose of making myself available as a conduit to be used for the greater good, and that the real trick in all that is staying very present in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a few things that have come to me to help me learn that trick. One of them is I got into dancing Argentine tango back 13 years ago this month.
Wow.
And you don't know what it is that's going to lead you. But that was a God-given, thing that showed up in my life and taught me again how to be very aware in the moment so that I can react as appropriate.
Mhm.
As a follower, that's really what you're learning to do, to completely trust the circumstance you find yourself in and know that in any given moment you'll be shown just what to do. And that's what I feel like my purpose is here. And that means you're going to be of service to who knows who, doing who knows what in any given moment. You have to learn how to follow the subtle gut leading you to, and it is an adventure. As you said, Dee, you do not know what it's going to ask you to do, and you don't know where it's going to take you. But if you'll trust it, it's that state of trust. I don't think there's anything greater than that, and art happens in that kind of circumstance.
Yes.
Yes.
It does.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm here for, and it takes many different forms.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And some of them not as pleasant as others.
There is that. Yeah, there's that when you have to be honest in a way you know is not going to make people happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I always tell my students, they'll say, "Oh, just to paint, if I can just paint as good as you do, what I do," and I tell them, I says, "You know what? Art is such a personal thing.
Yeah.
I feel that every painting or every art piece or every creative, whatever it may be, has a home."
Mm-hmm.
And I look at certain paintings and think, oh my gosh, who would ever want to buy that? Or that doesn't appeal to me at all. But it paints, it sells, and so it's such a very personal thing that their style, what they develop, and that's another point that I think we are looking at is, a lot of artists ask about, well, I want to get my style. And I searched for that for years and years and years and years. And even after starting to paint with David LaFell, I told him, I don't want to paint like you, David. I want my own style.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, the more you paint, you'll find that. And I did, So, and sometimes I get away from it and I have to get myself back to it. So I'm sorry, Michelle, but I thought, I just wanted to insert that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Michelle, what do you...
I don't know that there's any singular purpose. I feel that right now, through through teaching and other things I do, that I study my dog. I know that sounds a little funny, but dogs are always about unconditional acceptance, unconditional love. And so what I practice, or what I'm trying to practice, is just giving people unconditional acceptance. They don't have to earn my respect. They have my respect until they lose it. And I was just going to flash my wall to you of things that I have in front of me, because I think I don't know, but that Maya Angelou quote is one that really resonates with me each and every day. And it said, I've learned that people will forget what you said,
Mhm.
People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And so that's what it's all about for me right now. And I'm going to sign for a package apparently. Oh, I don't have to sign. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Oh, thank you. So that's what it is about for me right now. And oh, another one. Okay. Hey, thank you. You always forget what you order sometimes. And it's sort of like having Christmas here. I know there's got to be a big one of these days, because I ordered something for my niece that hasn't come yet. Poop. Anyway, so how about you, Shirley Ann?
Um, I think my purpose is I get confused, purpose and gift. But I know my gift is making people feel special. I know.
And you got that.
Yes.
Thank you. So I know that's my gift. My purpose
Yes.
I think it's using everything I have, everything I've been given, especially my creativity, my imagination, my passions, to create experiences where I can make people feel special. And the clarity of that, it shines a light on the conflict I have with my art. I don't know how my art does that. I know how other skills and talents I have do that, but I don't think I figured out how my art does that. So yeah.
I think your art, in part, is therapy for you.
Yes, it's for me. It's true. It's not the thing. It's not my thing. It's for me. That's so true. That is so true. That is so true. Oh God. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that,
Mhm.
Sometimes I've wondered if I wasn't trying to get more out of my production of art than was meant to be gotten out of it. Because I know it's therapy for me.
Mhm.
There has to be an outlet of some form happening in my life, and art tends to take it most of the time, but I find that writing is very soothing for me too.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Wow. Okay. I said it. I said I had a lot of questions.
You did. Thank you, Shirley Ann.
Thank you. Thank you. Giving me a lot to think about, which is good. Okay. Well, thank you. And
Do you know where Allison was
she
today?
said she wasn't going to make it today.
Oh,
She
yeah.
told us ahead of time. I think she has class or meeting or something.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll see her on Monday.
All righty. At noon on, okay, at
At
9 o'clock your time.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. All right.
Back to the old time. Okay.
Back to the old time.
Bye, ladies. Thank you.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.
Take
Bye.
care, everybody.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.